Okay. Oh, you're already recording. Look at that. You guys, I have too much shit here and oh yeah, you can see that in here, can't you? Fuck. What's up guys, it's Meg. Welcome back to Meg After Dark. It is that time of the week again where we get to talk about our favorite show on television. AMC's The Walking Dead is finally back. We watched season 8, episode 9, the mid-season premiere. Carl died last night. It was a very emotional, raw episode. Before we get into talking about it, look! Thumbs up if you know where this sweatshirt came from. Also, I have this hanging behind me, so it's just a fucking mess. You're in my windshield. I mean, you're in my windshield right now, even though I'm not in a car. You're in the windowsill right now. And it's traffic time. And quite frankly, this house that I live in, that I've lived in for like 3 years now, is just not a good house to film videos in. So I apologize if there is background noise. I'm actually standing right now because the table that used to be right here is not here anymore, and so I don't have it, and my tripod's broken and it's dark over there. And okay, lots of complaints. A minute and a half of me complaining. Oh, what is this? I was gonna tell you what this is just so you don't wonder the whole time. This is an herb drying rack. I'm actually making sage smudge sticks. If y'all don't know what that is, look it up, I guess. I'm making those and selling those, and I have a bunch of shit down here that I'm selling as well. So yeah, excuse my weird hangy thing in the background. All right, you guys, what did you think of last night's episode? I loved it to a point. It was almost an hour and a half with commercials. Y'all know, like, whenever they have an hour and a half episode, I feel like that extra half hour is just straight fucking commercials, just straight commercials. So it feels like, even though you're getting more episode, it feels like you're getting even more commercials, which is ridiculous. So that was a little bit much. And I think my biggest complaint for the entire episode, just to kind of get that out of the way, was just how long and drawn out Carl's death was. It took up the entire hour and a half, even though there were bits and pieces of other things happening. So I feel like I would have been fine with it taking the full hour episode, like a normal 45-minute hour episode, taking the whole time then, but I felt like an hour and a half, I got to a point where there was so much talking that I just felt myself going, okay, like tuning it out. I'm definitely gonna watch again, because I feel like maybe if I watch again a second time, I won't feel the need to like rush it. I mean, I guess when I watch at night, I watch the episode knowing that I'm gonna have to edit right away afterwards. Like, I edit through Talking Dead, don't even get to watch Talking Dead, and then I've gotta go to sleep because I have to get up and work first thing in the morning. I gotta get up at like 6 a.m. And last night I didn't go to bed until like 2:30 in the morning. So I was really fucking tired this morning. But I think there's always a rush for me to like, okay, I really love Walking Dead, but let's hurry up with the episode because I gotta go edit this shit. So that's a thing for me, I guess, but that's my problem really. But as far as the episode went, I feel like it could have done with him dying a little bit earlier in the episode. Definitely a lot of the conversations were needed, you know? They were trying to really impact Rick, not just with the fact that he's losing his son, but they're trying to change like his mind and the core principles that he's been living by the last few years and during this last however many months since they met Negan. He's kind of been living with this thing where I have to kill Negan, I have to get revenge, I have to kill him so that my family's safe, so I can protect my people, so that my people can live. And Carl is kind of throwing a wrench in those plans by trying to teach him this new way, like teach him that that way that he's been living doesn't have to be the only way it is. So that was, obviously those conversations were needed, and it was beautiful moments with them saying goodbye and Oh, it was heart-wrenching. I mean, I just can't imagine. I think as a mother, I always kind of, I'm like an emotional person, like no matter what. I have extreme sympathy for like everybody and what they're going through. And that's just kind of like my daily personality. So lots of things make me feel super empathetic with people. And so even when I'm watching a television show, I find that I sympathize greatly with characters, and I put myself as a mother in their shoes. So as a parent, I just can't even begin to imagine how awful it was for Rick and Michonne to be saying goodbye to Carl. Like, I can't even imagine. No parent should ever have to bury their child. I will say though that all of Rick's snotty tears that were dripping off the end of his nose onto Carl, I didn't say it while I was watching it, but it was really gross. The only other thing that I really had an issue with, which isn't really much of an issue, was at the very beginning of the episode, it kind of did that like time jumping around type thing that it did in season 8 episode 1. So we saw kind of Rick with the bloodshot eyes again. We saw a future glimpse, that foggy future dream sequence glimpse, and then we saw him digging the grave, and then it was like back to Carl getting bit, and then Carl walking with Sadiq, and then Carl cleans himself up, but then he's bloody again back with Sadiq. And it was just, I don't enjoy episodes that do that. I feel like it's great that you're doing flashbacks of kind of how Carl spent his last day, because we didn't get to see that, you know. All we saw was Alexandria getting ripped apart, and all of a sudden Carl's limping, and we're like, what the heck is wrong with him? And then we discover he's been bitten. So we don't know the past day that he lived, and he got to really live out this beautiful day with Judith, and that was amazing. But right before you see all of that, there's a lot of just bits and pieces of jumping around, you know. He's taking a shower one moment and all clean, and then the next you see him walking to the sewer tunnel with Sadiq, and he's all bloody still. And I just felt like maybe there could have been a better way to tell that portion of the story, rather than so many jumping around parts, because it makes it kind of hard to follow. Of course, that could just be me, and I'm just, I don't know. Maybe I just can't wrap my brain around this kind of things very well. I didn't appreciate that aspect of trying to figure out where everything was. I felt like I was trying to listen to the conversation and having to piece together like, oh, this is before, oh, this is after, oh, this is his last day, was kind of frustrating to me. But let's talk about his last day, because not very many people, and it makes me feel like I want to cry just talking about this, but not very many people in The Walking Dead get to live out their last moments and really get to say goodbye to everyone, and it doesn't happen very often. Sometimes there are deaths like who was I just thinking of? Well, somebody mentioned Andrea, how Carl's death was a lot like Andrea. Andrea didn't get to say goodbye to everyone, but she got to say goodbye to a couple, to Michonne, like, who was very important to her, and I thought that I really appreciated that. As far as, or for example, like Andrea in the comics, literally everyone who loved her got to say goodbye to her. Bob, you know, Sasha got to say goodbye to Bob. Bob got to see, you know, even though he was in such a state, he got to see some of his people before. But as far as like living out your last day, you've been bit, and Carl didn't turn very quickly, which I thought was really interesting, because I feel like a lot of people seem to be, they get bit and they die quickly, but he didn't. He had a single bite, and he was able to go home and take a shower and spend like a good solid day with Judith, taking pictures, making handprints. I just felt like that was so necessary for him, and hopefully she'll remember it. I feel like she's at an age where she would remember bits and pieces of it, but just, I'm babbling, but it was just a beautiful moment, and I was so glad that he was able to do that. While I was watching the episode, I was really worried that he was gonna die in the sewer, that he was just gonna die down there, and that made me really upset. But I'm really glad that eventually they got him back up to, I thought he was in Gabriel's church, but I could be wrong, but that they were able to get him back up top side, even though everything was destroyed, just to get him out from under the ground. That was so sad. Okay, let's talk about Morgan real quickly, because Morgan went on a killing rampage. He was really terrifying. I feel like you need to go back and watch the first half of season 8 again, because I can't really remember exactly what set him off again. Like, where was he at? I can't remember now. It's just gone blank, but I knew that he was like killing again, and okay with it, but he was like, he stuck his hand in that guy's intestine, like stomach, and just ripped his intestines out. Like, that dude was still alive. And I mean, he's just ruthless. And yes, I mean, he's fighting for his life and stuff, but I just feel like he was taking everything so far and he was enjoying it. And I think the fact that he was enjoying it is what bugged me, because yes, obviously if you're fighting for your life, you've got to kill, but like, he was, that smirk that he gave, like, I don't know, I need to watch it again, but it seemed like when he was going back and stabbing everyone again, like those guys were dead and he was going back and stabbing them again. And then he smirked that one time, kind of like a, like he was enjoying it, and he quickly corrected himself. I mean, he's really just, he's gone farther than I feel like he's gone before, even in clear mode. Like in clear mode, it was like pure survival, like everyone's gotta die, I've gotta live kind of thing. And this was different. I feel like this was getting joy out of it. Even out of like, one of my viewers made a comment, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who you are, but because I don't have it in front of me, but they said something like, he's killing people that, God, I can't remember now, I'm going blank. Now that I'm trying to quote, I'm going blank. But it was more like, these are people who have been coerced into killing for Negan. A lot of the people, you know, and they don't really feel like they have a choice under Negan's rule. And so they are doing his bidding, but not necessarily willingly, or not because that would be their first choice. For example, Gavin, throughout the episode and even back in the first half of season 8, you could tell that he didn't really want to do anything that he was doing. That he was going to, because he didn't want to disobey Negan, because, you know, God forbid he does that and then gets himself killed or Lucille'd or, you know, any kind of punishment like that. You know, he's trying to avoid that. But you could tell, you know, when he came to the kingdom and when he was looking for Ezekiel, Ezekiel was the only one he wanted. He didn't want to have to kill anyone else, but he knew he might have to. And just those kind of choices where you feel like if he had been presented with a choice without punishment, that he wouldn't have chosen to kill all of those people. So I really enjoyed that comment. Whoever wrote it, thank you. Probably multiple people wrote something like that, but it's good kind of putting those things in perspective, because a lot of times we do see these saviors as just these horrible bad guys here that are under Negan's and they're doing Negan's bidding, and you know, they don't care, they like killing. Now we have Simon, who definitely prefers to kill people, and seems to also enjoy it. So there is, you know, there are bad saviors there, but I just feel like there's a line that Morgan crossed too, especially then seeing Henry go and kind of kill for Morgan, you know, like he did what he had to do. It was really interesting seeing that moment, especially after Carl had just spoken to Rick about it. He had just confessed to Rick that he had killed someone back at the prison, that he had killed someone, a young kid that wasn't, you know, that was gonna put his gun down. So it was interesting seeing that moment, because you're like, where is this Henry storyline going, you know? Kids don't do well around Carol, but if he is now making these choices to kill, you know, and lacking maybe compassion and empathy and that kind of thing, you know, kids in the apocalypse, it's when they grow up around such violence, they don't necessarily have that morality, that same like moral compass that somebody who lived, like an adult who lived pre-apocalypse. Oh, and Carl gave Judith his hat. I love it. I hope that if we do get kind of a time jump after this war is over, I hope that we get to see Judith like walking around with a hat at some point. I would have loved to see that in Carl's vision. Oh, that's another thing we have to talk about, is the fact that all of those foggy dream sequences that we didn't really know what they were, it was finally wrapped up, and come to find out that it was kind of Carl's vision for the future. And the way like he was hoping his dad would make the right choices that would lead them to that particular path and that vision that he was having, that he could see in his head. I thought it was interesting because I was thinking the same thing, you know, that what we were seeing was so like future comic storylines, you know, with Rick and the beard and the haircut and the cane and that sort of thing, that it felt for sure like it must be some kind of like preview of the future or something. And Hana IV, you guys know her, she's another Walking Dead YouTuber. She made a post on Facebook last night or this morning, saying the same kind of thing. Well, if this was Carl's vision, why would he envision his father with a cane? Like, he's not hurt right now. So yeah, those kinds of little tidbits, I completely agreed with that statement because I hadn't put the two together in my mind, even though it felt off to me. And when she said that, I thought, yep, that's it. It's almost as if they decided at the end, like at the last minute, okay, we're gonna make this Carl's vision, you know? And it also felt weird that, I don't know, it's hard to explain. To me, it feels like these foggy vision things should have been wrapped up at the end of the mid-season, you know, the mid-season finale, because if we saw it at the beginning, then we should see it at the end. And it felt weird to then kind of start those time jumps and things and visions again at the beginning of this mid-season premiere as well. That just kind of threw it off for me too. But I guess it makes sense. It made far more sense now than it did season 8 episode 1. So it makes a lot more sense now knowing that that was Carl's kind of vision for the future. But there are like those little things, like why would he envision Rick with a cane, you know, or with a limp? Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. Anyways, finally, to the very end of the episode, it was so sad that Michonne and Rick went outside and Carl shot himself, much like Andrea put herself down. She didn't want anybody she loved to have to do it for her. Obviously, that would be so hard. I remember in Fear, you know, they didn't want, why can't I remember any of the characters' names now? Travis's wife, ex-wife, not wife. What was her name? She died in like season 1. I can't think of her name now. Oh my gosh, she was a good character. Anyway, she didn't want Travis to have to do it or anybody to have to do it, and he ended up doing it anyways. But it was that same kind of thing, you know, you don't want to put someone you love through that. That pain, especially like a father having to shoot his son. Oh my God, it's awful, you know? And I feel like, you know, when Carl did it to Lori, when he killed his mother, I feel like probably a lot of that pain that came from that, he wanted to save his dad from having to do that and save Michonne from having to do that, because he had to live with that. And even though he knew it was the right thing to do, he still had to live with the pain of having to put his mother down, you know? And I sort of feel like he was probably recalling that. There was a lot of Lori recalls in this episode as well, which was so sad. But I sort of feel like he was just trying to save his father and Michonne from kind of a little bit of that pain, if any, you know? He's already gonna be in so much pain as it is. So sad to see them standing on the porch. And I guess it wasn't, because they were standing on a porch. That wasn't, you know, when they walked in the building, I thought it was the church. And then now that I'm thinking about it, I'm rewatching the scene in my head. They were standing outside of a house on the deck, right? That's so odd, so odd. Anyways, now I lost my train of thought. Okay, I think I said everything I needed to say. I am kind of winging this, if you couldn't tell, 20 minutes into this review, and I have babbled on and I have no idea if I've touched base on everything I want to touch base on. Oh, the letters. Oh my gosh. The letters that Carl wrote to everyone. I'm excited. I don't know why, but I'm excited to kind of see how those letters play into the next few episodes. There was one for Enid, one for his father, one for Michonne, I think. Probably somebody else I'm not thinking of, but he had a whole stack of letters that he wanted to make sure, and he handed them over. Even though he was still able to say goodbye, he still handed them over. And I really want people like Enid, who don't have any idea what's happened, I mean, she's gonna be devastated, to be able to have like a piece of that, like a last gift from Carl, you know, a last memory from him. I think it was really great that he was able to do that. I'm so happy that he had so much time to kind of make peace with his situation. Okay, anyways, I've got to wrap this up because this is a very long review. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here at the end of this video, I appreciate it immensely. Be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't. I will be doing reaction videos every week. I will try to do reviews. I can't promise anything because you guys know how I get. As soon as I promise, I'm not gonna do it. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. Leave me comments or your questions or anything like that in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you really soon. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week. Bye.